The parts have been arriving for weeks, and today's the day our off-road team begins their most aggressive project yet. Plus, they don't call them tough trucks for nothing. We're off to the Wheel Jamboree for a little head-over-heels action. Xtreme 4x4 starts now.
You know, we know that everybody at home likes to look through catalogs, admire the parts, or maybe even in your head you dream up the ultimate truck.
Well, we did just that. Today on Xtreme 4x4, we're going to start with one of the wildest buildups you've ever seen. All we did was bring in a catalog, a pad and a paper, and now we're going to be building a sick rock crawling Jeep. Just like in your wildest dreams. Blank check, no budget, no questions asked kind of plan.
And now the parts have started to pile up here and it's time to get to work. Underneath these tarps, the first couple pieces that we need, so let's have a look.
Where's the body to it?
Well, it's on its way, and the best part is it's all aluminum.
Oh, so it's like an alloy Jeep.
Yes, which we'll call AJ for short.
Nice, very nice.
Let's unpack. Here, passenger. Hey, suspension's here. The process of building a Jeep from scratch began months ago. We started with a wish list of what we wanted, then we got on the phone.
You're the best. Thanks, Chris.
You build a Jeep, you need to contact Quadratec. Quadratec offers more Jeep-specific products than anyone else in the industry. Then go a little bit further, Joe, right on the edge. From them we received an aluminum CJ7 body, which got lights, fuel tank, grill, wiring harness, steering, and a whole bunch of other Jeep odds and ends.
We planned on running Skyjacker's Super Flex long arm 8-inch suspension system. And once Advanced Frameworks knew our plan, they built their one-of-a-kind hybrid CJ-TJ frames for us. Curry hooked us up with a high pinion 9-inch front and their awesome Rock Jock 60 for the rear.
For the drivetrain, we tapped TCI for a 700 R4 automatic trans, converter, and all the trimmings. Then it was on to advanced adapters to get, of course, an Atlas II transfer case.
If you plan to run at serious angles, fuel injection is a good idea. So we chose a 383 small block Chevy, and then ordered a GM Ramjet fuel injection system to be controlled by a street and performance ECM.
And that's where we are today. A huge pile of parts and a big job to do. But don't worry, we've committed only 5 weeks to this project.
That's right, we're gonna haul ass through all of this to hopefully keep you all on your seats.
It's a huge job, but like you wouldn't take it up.
Make sure you stay tuned, because by the end of this show, we're gonna have this entire frame as rolling chassis.
Let's tear them up.
Coming up, we'll take you to the Wheel Jamboree for some tough truck racing when Xtreme 4x4 continues. The Xtreme 4x4 Event of the Week is brought to you by Warren, #1 in winches.
Welcome back to Xtreme 4x4. We got done unpacking all the boxes for our ultimate Jeep build-up, and the first step in putting this rolling chassis together is obviously the axles. We went to Curry for a Ford 9-inch in the front and a Dana 60 in the rear. This 9-inch has a high pinion, which means the pinion is above that axle center line. That's going to give us more clearance on those rocks. To put it in, we got the bottom in, it's got to put the top mounts on.
This Rock Jock 60 is brand new from Curry. It's perfect for a rock crawling application because of this inspection plate. Now it looks like it's sitting crooked, but it's really not. It's tilted forward to keep it out of the area of the rocks. Plus it's got this built-in skid plate, which you'll see more when I'm dragging across the rocks when we're going up there. Plus it's got super high clearance and it's lightweight. When it comes to suspension, this Skyjacker Super Flex long arm kit is pretty neat. You can order it with either urethane bushings on either end, all Heim joints, or you can get one on each end.
One piece from the Skyjacker kit we're not going to use is this trailing arm mount. It's for a stock TJ, but we went ahead and had the guys at Advanced Frameworks mount ours directly to the frame. You can spec this from them if you ask.
The four-wheel jamborees are an institution in off-roading, and nothing gets the fans more riled up than the tough trucks.
For truck racing fanatics around the country, there's nothing bigger or better than the Wheel Jamboree.
This is the largest truck show in the world, and we have a series of 8 of these that take place all over the United States. We've got just about everything that you could have for a state fair for gearheads.
From monster trucks to rock crawling. Tough trucks to the biggest show and shine on the planet. The Jamboree ain't no pony show.
It's awesome. Cool.
We really have themed our whole series to be very family oriented. You can come out here and you can share ideas with guys that build trucks. You can also come out here and have a real good time with your girlfriend or your wife, and you bring your whole family. It's a very affordable weekend. You get a lot for your entry fee.
Since the Jamboree began here 23 years ago, the trucks may have changed, but one thing remains the same.
This is truly the greatest show on earth.
With its pin-to-the-ground speed and axle-shaking jumps, Mickey Thompson's Tough Truck Challenge isn't for wimps.
It's 100%, it's extreme four-wheel drive.
For these racers, it doesn't get any more radical than Indy's S-shaped track.
Hold to the floor. It's go time.
If you ever race motocross, drag racing, circle track, you take all them and put it all in one little realm.
You know, you're racing, it's close, and you just stand on it and go.
Sometimes they go too far.
I'm fine. I lost my sunglasses, but other than that, I'm doing good. I knew it was going to be a roll of the dice whether I was able to land right off that last jump or not. I think racers, it's just their own pride. They think they can save any truck in any situation, and that time it got a little bit too far over and couldn't pull her back.
These one-on-one, smack-it-down elimination races aren't just about gunning it.
You have to be a little finesse about it. I've seen guys just smash the throttle and they don't go, they break, they're done.
You don't even see the guy in the other lane. You focus on your truck, you focus on the track. And I'm serious about focusing on your truck because you are part of that truck. It's great, it's something else.
Racing tough trucks since 1985, Roger became an instant fan favorite when he debuted his Bubba Bronco 11 years later.
You don't have to be rich to get into this sport. I'm the poster child for that. This truck here has nothing but maybe $5,000 to $7,000 invested. And the other trucks that are out there are all pushing that $30,000 to $50,000 price range, and we're doing it with this.
Even though he's running a 351 Windsor that pushes over 400 horse, Roger knows it takes more than power to win.
You can have all kinds of horsepower, but if you haven't got the suspension, you're not going to go anywhere. You can have 800 horse out there, and a guy with an excellent suspension and a stock motor, 150 to 200 horse, can kick your butt. We'll take a look at the air ride suspension system. What we have here are airbags that are used to lift the air tag on a semi-truck. The shocks are Rancho 9000s, they're the adjustables. Main links, we use Heim joints. These Heim joints, instead of the high dollar chromoly joints that people would like to use, I'm a farm boy. These are actually off of a top link for a 3-point hitch on a farm track. The front suspension on this is pretty much in a stock design. What I've done, I've sectioned the frame and moved it up. The frame is actually lifted, the front section of the frame is lifted about 4 inches. We went with a 3.5-inch Superflex coil spring to get a little more lift out of it. And there again, we still use Rancho shocks, the adjustable Ranchos. We get a lot of abuse and they still hold up really well. We're really impressed with those.
For the fans, they love watching Bubba take down the big dogs.
I think when they see that this truck is out on the track, they know it's an underdog and they really root for the underdog. And come race time, we try not to disappoint them.
Trying to finish second in the final standings, Bubba and Roger were knocked out in the first round by Jeff Diedick. Even a rough showing wasn't enough to ruin Roger's weekend.
It's unlike anything else I've ever done. I don't know of anything else I'd want to do. I love doing this stuff. I have a lot of fun with it.
When we come back, Ian and Jesse put tough to frame as Project AJ gets closer to becoming a rolling chassis. Stay where you are.
What do you think? Looks like a Jeep, doesn't it?
Welcome back to Project AJ and our mock-up stage. Now, mock-up is a super important step when you're trying to tackle a project this big. It helps you identify any future problems you might come across in the process.
A prime example of that is these shock mounts. These need to be mounted to the lower differential, and we won't want to go ahead and paint that or finish it before we weld that on. Same with the frame. We're going to be adding all sorts of stuff for this for the roll cage, so the best thing for now is leave it bare. We got to this point by installing the shocks and the coil springs. Then finished off the front with the track bar.
We did the same thing in the rear with the arms, the track bar, the springs, and not quite yet the shocks because of the mounts, which is why we have these straps holding up the axle.
For tires, we went to Procom for their Xtreme series. They're a directional tread, but the best thing is with 8 plies and these functional side biters, when we air this tire down, it's really going to grab on the rocks. For wheels, we went back to Procom for their Xtreme alloy series. It's a 17x9 lightweight aluminum wheel. But the coolest thing for us is the logo in the center cap.
I know we promised you a rolling chassis, but we never got the knuckles in. But with only 4 weeks left, gotta keep working.
All right, it's coming down, watch your fingers. We're just gonna set the body on the frame for now. We're not gonna bolt it down or mount it. We just want it in place so we can mock some more stuff in. I'd say that's pretty close. Yep.
Okay.
Okay, now I think we should strap it to the frame. Just to keep it from jiggling when we push.
In the front?
I'd say anywhere.
When you're mocking up parts, it's okay to leave things out depending on what you're planning on checking. In this case, we borrowed a dummy block from the guys over at Horsepower.
We're gonna set the real transmission in place though, but we don't need the transfer case for now because we have to have this thing actually at ride height to measure for drive shafts. And we're gonna have to add a lot more weight before this thing's gonna sit down right.
Keep going, right there. We spec'd this frame for a small block Chevy, so the guys over at Advanced Frameworks supplied us with the mounts and the engine side as well.
We're also gonna throw a cylinder head in this motor so we can check for header clearance. As you know, you can leave the exhaust until the end, but you want to check for headers early so you don't end up building around them while you're building your truck. I think on this side, the biggest issue will be the steering. I'll get the other cylinder head.
I concur. Do you concur?
For more information on today's show, go online, Xtreme4x4TV.com.
Now, I know I told you we'd have Project AJ on a rolling chassis by the end of the show. We're only 3 minutes away from getting that done.
And the last thing we need to take care of is the front axle. In this cart is everything we need to address those front hubs with. We went to Collins Brothers Jeeps in Texas for a used driver's side steering knuckle because the Curry axle didn't have one. But on the passenger side, we went with this beast from TerraFlex.
This high clearance steering upgrade for the Dana 30 normally replaces the stock knuckle on the passenger side. What this knuckle does is it raises the steering position, allowing for ride quality and steering control on lifted Jeeps. It installs just like the factory knuckle. And it also comes with a heavy-duty tie rod and drag link.
The last step in this front end is a Warren freewheeling hub conversion kit. Now, you off-roaders know the benefit of having freewheeling hubs to disconnect your drive line for driving or flat towing. But the nicest thing about this kit is it's going to allow you to upgrade to the older CJ7 5 on 5.5 bolt pattern. Not only is that a stronger bolt pattern than the factory 4.5, but it's going to go with our theme of old and new on this Jeep. The first step is to connect the inner and outer axle shafts. A new piece from Warren is secured to the Curry piece with a U-joint included in the kit.
Next, we install the axle assembly, thrust washer, seal and spindle onto the steering knuckle, and torque the bolts.
With the rotor, the hub, and the spacer in place, you press it all together with the wheel studs. Now, this kit requires the use of a modified CJ7 rotor. I'll trade. Take that one. Thanks. The rotor has to have the hat and the outer diameter machined down as per the instructions in the kit. Now, any machine shop will be able to handle that for you.
Once the hubs have been assembled, we can pack the wheel bearings. Apply grease to the bearing cups, install the bearing on the inboard side of the wheel, install a seal, and then the whole assembly just slides right onto the spindle.
Now, you don't need a bearing packer to pack bearings. You can do the same thing by hand. But I've seen so many people do it wrong all the time. So for those of you who don't know, pay attention. You take a dollop of grease, put it in the palm of your hand. You hold the bearing at an angle and you slap it through the grease to force the grease between the race and the cage. Then just simply work your way all around the bearing. Thread the inner nut using a 4-wheel drive socket and tighten it until you feel drag when you spin the rotor. Loosen it a quarter turn, then install the lock washer, and then tighten the outer nut to 125 foot-pounds.
The last piece of this puzzle is the wheel lock itself. Now, resist temptation to grease it because it comes pre-lubed. Now, the way this works is that this splines onto the wheel and this splines onto the axle, and it spins freely. When you lock it, it pushes in this piece right here and keeps it from spinning. You unlock it and it spins again. Now, how to install this? Install the lock ring, install the axle retaining ring, then place the hubcap in the free position and bolt it on with the supplied cap screws.
Good?
Oh. I told you we'd have this thing as a rolling chassis by the end of the show.
And we even went ahead and threw a body on it. The cool thing is this body's all aluminum. It's light as air. Anyone can pick this thing up.
And we got this custom hybrid frame. It's modified to fit a TJ suspension.
The whole thing sort of goes together as an old versus new thing. We got the CJ7 and all the new TJ stuff. And this thing's going to be full of toys to make this the ultimate trail rig.
Not too bad for one show. 4 more before we get to go out and play. Be sure to tune in next week when we resurrect this Ranger into an off-road bandit.
And if you think it was hard building a truck out of nothing, you should try building something out of that. But that's okay. Here at Xtreme, the impossible just takes a little bit more time and a lot more money.
See you next week.